In today's gripping episode, we've got a tale that's sure to have you on the edge of your seat, as a dinner invitation turns into an all-out family feud. Get ready for a shocking story of love, beliefs, and a moment of truth that spirals into chaos. I've been dating an amazing girl for a bit over a year now. She's pretty chill and progressive, but she comes from a very conservative Protestant family. Frankly, it's amazing that she isn't disowned. Her parents and siblings obviously love her very much, but every time we go to visit, they are not shy about voicing their disapproval of her lifestyle choices. Thankfully, they're all cordial and the concerns are voiced civilly, so there's no raised voices or hurt feelings. But not being part of the family, these lectures are quite uncomfortable for me, especially since I'm not spared from her family's criticism. As you can imagine, we don't visit them much. They were kind enough to extend a dinner invitation on Wednesday evening, and since we hadn't seen them in a month or so, we took them up on it. Despite the occasional awkward, disapproving interjection, which we're both used to by now, things were going well. That is, until I let slip that she and I were thinking about moving in together. At that point, her father gave me the coldest gaze I'd ever seen, and he wouldn't stop fucking glaring at me. From that point on, he had no qualms about interrupting me every time I spoke, quoting Bible passages to insult me or contradict every single thing I would say in some fashion. I may not have been on exactly the same page as her father before, but we'd gotten along okay nonetheless. It definitely seemed like he was just being rude, obnoxious, and particularly confrontational. Now, I'm an extremely even-tempered guy, but he was bagging on me to the extent that I had to excuse myself 4 goddamn times during dinner because he was pissing me off and I needed to cool down. There were multiple instances where his daughter and wife would even comment on his mean attitude, but he seemed to just totally ignore them. This guy obviously intended to goad me. After dessert, my girlfriend and her mother are washing dishes, leaving me and her father alone at the dining room table. After a brief, awkward silence, I decided to straight up ask him why he was so upset with me. He revealed that he was wholeheartedly against the idea of his daughter living with an unscrupulous heathen, his literal words, as that pretty much guaranteed premarital sex. I'd had enough of his shit by this point, and decided a dose of reality would straighten him out, but emotions certainly got the best of me, and my delivery was incredibly crass. If you think it took more than a few weeks to twist your daughter into all kinds of kinky pretzels you can't even imagine, and stuff various objects into every hole in her body, then you're just being willfully ignorant. In my defense, I was being honest. She's ridiculously kinky. I still feel bad for being so disrespectful, though. I have never been punched out of anger before, so when this 64-year-old man lunged across the table and struck me, I was caught completely off guard. I'm a regular gym goer and participated in martial arts in the past, but none of that mattered. The next thing I knew, I was on my back with this previously very collected elderly fellow on top of me in a blood rage. Still dazed from smacking my head on the ground when my chair tipped over, it was all I could do to try and deflect his onslaught of wild blows. It seemed like a fucking eternity before his wife and daughter pulled him off me. I stood up and could feel the sting of blood dripping into my eye. I could taste it in my mouth. I was still dizzy and disoriented, but it was obvious that I'd received some pretty solid blows. While I was slightly embarrassed that someone almost twice my age handed me my ass, I nevertheless felt like I won. Like I got him to snap, even though he'd been working on me for hours. My girlfriend ushered me into the bathroom and began to gingerly tend my wounds. Her mother and father were hollering back and forth incomprehensibly in the dining room downstairs. When I heard them say her name, I assured her I was fine on my own and urged her to deal with her folks. More incomprehensible yelling ensued, though my girlfriend's voice now joined the chorus. Around the time I'd managed to staunch the bleeding from my eyebrow, she returned with my coat and said simply, "We're leaving." She was angrier than I'd ever seen her, yet managed to remain collected. Normally, when we'd leave her parents' house, there were fond farewells, warm handshakes, hugs, wishes for prosperity, and blessings abound. Not this time, though. This time, There was only her mother crying alone at the dinner table. We didn't even stop to say goodbye. Her father was nowhere to be found. Nothing but silence while we got into the car and left the driveway. A few miles down the road, I noticed tears in my girlfriend's eyes. I wanted to be there for her, to comfort her in some way, but I just didn't know how. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked, feeling stupid that I couldn't come up with something more suave to break the silence. "Not right now," she said, her voice strained against the flood of emotion. I put one of my hands in hers and squeezed ever so slightly, letting her know without words that I was there for her when she was ready. She squeezed back, refusing to break down sobbing, even as large, heavy tears rolled down her face. We rode the rest of the way without saying anything. If you enjoyed the roller coaster of today's story and would like to hear more wildlife tales, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming stories. Remember, your comments fuel the conversation, so drop us your thoughts below and let's get chatting.